Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for taking my call. I love C-SPAN.
Great to have you.
I saw a wonderful program on the work that he's doing, and apparently he does have one law firm that's doing everything pro bono for him, and I would like for him to very slowly give some contact for attorneys in the United States who would like to take one case and work on them. I'm an attorney, and I would love to have one case to help him out, but I just don't know how to go about it. I don't know what to do. If he'll get some information, I'm quite sure there are many attorneys in the United States that would take up one case for him, and I applaud what he's doing. And I would like to say that after the Vietnam War, President Ford opened the gates, and we have many, many Vietnamese refugees here on the Gulf Coast, and we love having them because they're hardworking, they're shrimpers, even though they can't shrimp right now with the price of oil. But I would really like for him to talk about what the ordinary person can do to help him, and where attorneys can get in touch with him to pick up a case for him. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson.
Thank you for your compliment. Yeah, you know, when I started, and I think most Americans have this notion of law firms as these big, bad, greedy guys, but the private sector, the law firms have done more for the list and for Iraqi refugees than anybody I know. It's actually 3 law firms right now, Holland and Knight, Proskauer Rose, and Mayer Brown, who together have committed nearly 200 attorneys, top attorneys, and thousands of pro bono hours to help represent and support the Iraqis on my list. So it's a first in that every Iraqi refugee that qualifies for my list now has a free lawyer. For folks who want to help, I would recommend that they go to thelistproject.org. And I feel like we're finally making progress, because I was on here a year ago and all I had was an email address, so now I at least have a website. But there are a number of things that lawyers, that any Americans, college students can do, and our site lists a number of options, and it's more than just writing a letter to your congressman. We have list project chapters starting throughout the country where once the Iraqis make it here, we're trying to connect local communities who want to help by contributing goods to them and things like that.
How is the list project funded? Where do you get your money from?
There are a couple anonymous donors who are so anonymous that I don't even know who they are. There's one grant from the Tides Foundation, and then a lot of small checks and contributions from Americans across the country. Someone just mailed a $5 bill to me the other day, which it was wonderful.
Our guest is from West Chicago, Illinois, and we read in your bio that you started studying Arabic in the college setting at the age of 16. You're a Fulbright scholar, worked in research throughout the Middle East region, and Kirk Johnson in the fall of '05 was appointed to USAID senior staff. How did you get involved in all of this? We see the background, but move it forward to the LIST project. When did the idea actually happen in your mind?
I'd like to think that it was some sort of strategy or game plan, but this issue consumed me. I had one friend who had been identified by a militia who had been helping us for years, working for USAID, and he came home to find the severed head of his dog on his front steps with a note pinned to it saying that his head would be next. And there was, at the time, nothing that anybody did for him. Now it seems that we could do more. And I thought that was outrageous, and so I wrote an op-ed piece in the Los Angeles Times, and as a consequence, all of my other former colleagues who had suffered similar fates started writing. And through that, the list began, and it's all been sort of improv since then.
Manette Missouri for Kirk Johnson of the LIST Project. Good morning to you.
Good morning, C-SPAN. Good morning, Kirk.
Good morning.
You mentioned that these are people that are in danger from helping us. Why are they in danger for helping us, and who are they in danger from?
Well, it's a good question. There is like it or not, still a great level of animosity and a great number of militias who view America as the greatest explanation for all of Iraq's woes. And from that perspective, they view anybody who has helped the Americans as traitors to Iraq. And so there's no thriving freedom of the press, that there's not a vehicle for them to express their frustration, or the vehicle that they choose to do so is usually bullets and AK-47s. And so these are the most hunted group of Iraqis, and the people who have they've been getting hunted by all different kinds of militias and sects, and the people who have helped us are Kurds, Shia, Sunni, every kind of Iraqi, but they're hated by their country.
Hudson, Florida, you are on the air now with Kirk Johnson. Hi.
Hi, good morning. I haven't ever called before, but I wanted to ask a question if I could, please. I know that as one of the 47 million Americans who do not have health care, I recently became aware that they have a thing called Political National, and they automatically get free health care from the American government. Is that the case with these refugees?
Until recently, there was a type of visa called the Special Immigrant Visa that there were no benefits attached to it. But you should know that any refugee, which is a separate legal classification than an SIV, any refugee who comes to our country from anywhere in the world has a period of support when they first come in from our government. And I think they get something like 6 or 7 months of Medicare, at which point they're on their own. And I think they receive, I think something like a couple $100s every month for the first few months. And part of the reason I was in town this week was that we were hosting the first job summit for a few dozen of the Iraqis that we've managed to get in so far, because a lot of these Iraqis are, the vast majority of them are highly educated. They're dentists and doctors and lawyers, and we wanted to give them a sense of how to navigate the American job market, because I mean, they have a lot to contribute to our society and to our economy.
You mentioned the $4,100 price tag roughly to get an Iraqi settled here. Would that all be government money, U.S. government money, or are there private monies coming in? What's the structure? What other structures are there to bring in and help those folks if they want to move?
Well, in the end, no one gets to the U.S. without the approval of the Department of Homeland Security. So unless I somehow charter a boat and do the whole Elian Gonzalez thing, I mean, I think, I mean, we've got the current system, we have to work within those confines. There are, however, precedents that we can look to help these Iraqis that I think haven't been discussed yet, that look beyond the sort of in-the-box thinking that has sort of plagued our approach so far. Our greatest allies in Iraq, the Brits and Denmark, they have airlifted out all of their Iraqi staff. They're not leaning on a stretched or overstretched UNHCR or these really complicated long steps. They're putting their Iraqis who have helped them as interpreters on airplanes and flying them to the UK or to Denmark for processing there. In 1996, there was a failed uprising in the north of Iraq, and many of the Iraqis were seen to be collaborating with the United States, and President Clinton was concerned that the traditional refugee resettlement process would not move swiftly enough for them. And so the president ordered Operation Pacific Haven, which sent our military planes and flew nearly 7,000 Iraqis to Guam, to our military base, where they were processed there. They were processed in safety so that Hussein couldn't attack them. And Americans were kept safe from any potential bad apple because this is a military base, and now those Iraqis are American citizens. They've been long contributing to our society now. There are no reasons as to why we couldn't do this if we had the will. I mean, we are still a superpower after all.